welcome or welcome back to my channel. I went ahead and I applied some brand new extensions. I applied them with the Bling Galleria peel base. If you want to see that peel base in action, check out one of my previous videos. I have this in action application and removal, but I applied them over top of an 8-in-1 layer with a top coat, 8-in-1 base layer with a top coat so that they will pop off easy. These are the two builder gels that I'm going to be using for my hands. So I got this brand new jelly, like a jelly red construction gel. Just got that recently in the mail and I wanted to try it out, but then I also wanted to try out the other red builder gel in a pot. So the construction gel, you can build nails out with it. It's kind of like a builder gel in a bottle. And this is builder gel in a pot. Here are the ingredients very quickly. Pause if you want to see them because I probably shouldn't have flipped my container because it is open. And yeah, I have to wait a second for it to like get off of the top. But yeah, I wanted to try both of them and like compare how easy they are to use and how like the color difference is, like what the color difference looks like. So in this particular video, I'm going to be using the red builder gel because I have to use a brush with it since it is in a pot. And with the other one, it has a brush already since it comes in the bottle. So I am going to use this red builder gel on my non-dominant hand. Man, the cicadas are going. It is so loud. Wonder if y'all can hear them. Let me know if you can hear them. They kind of got quiet when I said that, but they are going like country living. Cicadas are out right now. But yeah, this is the difference in the colors. I can definitely see the difference. The red builder gel in the pot is going to be more pink undertone, and then the other one is a little bit more orange, but it's also more translucent. So yeah, I just put the tips on right before the video because I didn't want to add that into here again. I'm going to use my e-file, and this is a 240 grit sanding band just to clean up the edges and file off the shine. I'm going to be using this dust collector. It's currently charging, but I love the rhinestones on it. I think it's super awesome. It is rechargeable, which I love that aspect. It came with a lot of the filters as well, so I just put the filters on so I don't have to change the actual filter. So I went ahead and took off the shine, sealed the cuticles, but this time I did not want to use acetone because in my previous removal video I used acetone and it made the removal just a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to be using the pH bond because I also don't want to use acetone on the tips themselves at all, just because I don't want to use any acetone there to see if that makes a difference in the removal for when it comes time. So I'm just going to use the bond, but I also don't want to use any alcohol because isopropyl alcohol makes the tips white, and I just don't like that. So we're going to use the bond. And that's pretty much just going to clean off the tips. It's going to make sure that they are clean and ready for the rubber base and then the builder gel. So I do this to all of the nails and it just kind of cleans them off and gets them to be a ready surface. This step is probably not necessary. I could probably just go in with the clear rubber base and then go in with the builder gel, but I like to use this to make sure that the tips are nice and clean and lint free and ready for application. Because I didn't wash them, I didn't use any isopropyl alcohol or anything, so I just like to use the bond just to make sure that everything sticks. I don't like to have lifting, and I never experience any when I use the bond and the primer or the bond when I'm doing it on top of my extensions because the clear rubber base will stick to the tips themselves since they are gel tips. These particular tips are from the Painted Desert, which they are still closed as of now, so I've been using soft gel tips as well, but I love these Painted Desert medium stilettos. Like, obsessed. This has been my favorite for many years now. All right. Now I'm going to use clear rubber base. You can use regular rubber base, but these particular tips are a little bit more on the flimsier side. So I like to use a rubber base just because it's a little bit thicker. It's got a little bit more structure to it. So I like to use a rubber base Also, I don't want them to lift like for real, so I use that one. Base coat is also fine, but I just choose to use rubber base. That's just my personal choice. So I'm going to show you how I apply the rubber base to two of my nails. I did speed it up because I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory per se. It's a clear gel and you apply it like you would a base coat. It's just a little bit thicker, but I don't use a thick layer of this rubber base. I just use a thin layer, enough to just get on the nail and cover the entire surface and the sidewalls so that I have super adherence. And then I make sure that the rubber base is all the way to the cuticle and it is all the way on the sidewalls so that I have no issue areas. But yeah, take my liner brush and I just make sure that it is secure, like all the way to the edge, because I've noticed that if I do not make sure that the base coat or the rubber base is all the way to the edges, I tend to have lifting because the builder gel likes to attach to base coat or rubber base. It doesn't like to attach straight to nails, at least for me anyway. Oh, these cicadas are so loud. I can't even hear myself think. But yeah, and then what I like to do in the meantime before I do a full cure is I like to flash cure all of the nails so that the rubber base doesn't run all over the nails. I just like to flash cure one nail at a time and then continue on. So I'm just going to show you one more nail that I do the rubber base on just for repetition with one nail. But I don't show all of them just because I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. But I did want this video to be focused on the builder gel application versus the rubber base application. But this part does help show what I do to show you proper steps to kind of do if you're having issues with builder gel staying and not lifting. So if you're having lifting issues, you might could switch your base, like your base coat, out for a rubber base. And all of these in the Ultra formula are super hypoallergenic as well. So they're not going to be as harmful as some other products and cause allergies and stuff. Like there's no guarantee with any gel, obviously, but these are less prone to do that because they are super clean. All right, we have the rubber base on all of the nails. Now we're going to go in with the builder gel. I like to use this brush. It comes in a whole brush kit. It has 15 brushes in it. And this is just the brush that I like to use when my nails are a little bit longer. I feel like it just is easier. So when I'm applying builder gel or even rubber base, but this is about builder gel, I like to take a little bit and I like to do a slip layer. So I'll take a little bit of the product and I will do a very thin coat on the entire nail. So what this is going to do is this is going to give the larger bead and larger amount that I do next time to flow onto where this is already located. So we want to be really precise with this slip layer because the other gel will just kind of flow to where this already is. And it is very self-leveling, so you really don't want to run it into your cuticles or do a too big of a bead at the cuticle line. I do show you on my index finger what happens if you put the larger bead too close to your cuticle line and how much running around you have to do and how much flooding and work you have to do and filing and all of that compared to when you put the bead a little bit further down the nail, more of near the apex area, but more towards the middle of your natural nail versus right up on the cuticle. So right now I'm just applying my slip layer. I'm making sure that it is in my cuticle area, making sure my sidewalls are fully covered, just kind of making sure all the areas are covered before I go in with my next layer. So once I'm happy with how that layer looks, I will clean it up with a like an orange wood stick or something and just make sure that all of the gel is where I want it. And then I'll go in with a larger bead. Now, I don't like to work with really large beads because I really don't feel like I have a lot of control with one super large bead. But I go in with like a medium sized bead, and for my thumb, I generally do 2 to 3. It's kind of like thinking about acrylic per se, but I like to go in with like a medium sized amount and just kind of flow it near the cuticle. So I kind of tuck it back in there And I did leave this nail in real time, so this is really how long it takes me to do this nail. Once you get the hang of it, it's really not difficult, but you'll see me struggle a little bit more with my index finger. And then just know that my index finger, when I show you, that is where I started when I started doing builder gel and stuff. I was always flooding my cuticles and it was just a disaster. So if you're still flooding your cuticles, I am just going to offer some tips and tricks when doing your nails. So, also a trick is to face or point your nail downwards, so tilt it a little forward so that you have gravity on your side. Because if you leave your nail up, like if you're looking at it and my thumb was to be up so I could see it and look straight at it, it would be having gravity run the gel all the way into my cuticle. And also, if I was to tip my nail all the way down, all of the gel would be flooding to the free edge and make the tip of my nail super bulky. So you just want to kind of pay attention with gravity. This is very, very self-leveling and very easy to use. You just have to kind of work with it a little bit and find out kind of what works for you. I used to watch a lot of builder gel videos, and then ultimately, after you watch a ton of videos and you get your education there, it's time to try it. So the first couple of times are not going to work as easy as they work in the videos. That's just not how it goes. But once you get the hang of it and you keep practicing, you will get it and it will become easier. Now, builder gel isn't something I like to do with like dual forms yet or with paper forms or anything like that. I don't like to sculpt it, but I will use it on my natural short nails or I will use it on top of tips to, like if the tips are really flimsy or if the builder gels a really lovely color like this, it also gives color and strength to the nail tips because these particular ones are a little bit on the flimsy side. And I used to use these when I used to use dip powder, and then the dip powder alone itself is like really strong. But I use builder gel when I use extensions, usually as my base layer to just make sure that they're really strong, especially when I wear longer ones. This is just a medium length, but I've been working up to a longer length. But the longer the nails, the more strength you're going to want, especially if you're hard on your hands. Also, another trick right now, I am turning my nail over, like upside down, to let the gel flow into its natural apex so that it can give a super beautiful shape. And what that does is that pulls the gel to the apex of the nail and it just gives it a really, really gorgeous shape. The mosquitoes are so bad out here, and I'm seeing fireflies. I love fireflies in the summer. Well, really all the time, but fireflies are out, but so are the mosquitoes. But anyway, when I'm working with this, I just like to make sure that my cuticles are really clean, as clean as I can get them to be. Like on this one, you're going to see I have a little bit of filing that I can do at the end, but if it's not too much, I really don't mind. But you really just want to try to do as best as you can with keeping all the gel off of your skin, out of your cuticles, because then when it comes time to file, it's just going to be a lot easier. And we also don't want any gel on our skin. We really, 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 really got to be careful to not get any gel on the skin. Definitely don't cure it on there. So I'm going to do one more flip and I'm going to show you the side profile. Looks pretty good. So I also like to flash cure my builder gel just so that it's not going to run when I'm working on other nails. I like to just make sure that it stays put, and giving it a flash cure for about 15 to 20 seconds is enough to just kind of hold it in place while I'm working on the rest of the nails. And I only flash cured it, so I wanted to try to see if I could clean up some of the cuticle with the gel while the gel is not super hard, and maybe knock off some of that. But at the cuticle line, you can see a little bit of area where I'm going to have to file at the end, but that is fine. I wouldn't have actually gave that a full cure because it's on the side, and I wanted you guys to kind of see the side profile, a little bit of filing that needs to be done, but overall not very bad, just a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the index finger. All right. So like I said a little bit earlier, the index finger is how I used to apply my gels when I very first started doing builder gel on my nails. So I did my slip layer like usual. The slip layer goes on and it's just fine. slip layer just helps guide the gel, and I just feel like it helps me. Maybe it's not necessary, but it's just something that I do. I've found that it helps me out and it makes the gel flow a little bit easier. So I do my slip layer and then I clean up the cuticle area just to make sure that everything is kind of where it needs to be so it's not overflowing as best as I can. And then where I mess up is when I go in with the larger bead. Now, the larger bead, watch where I put it, right? So this is about how big the bead is. And look how close I put that back to the cuticle. That is so far back to the cuticle that it is about to flow in there. And then I don't think about it. I don't move it. I just keep going down the nail. And then it just flows, starts to flow everywhere. I feel like I lost control of it almost because I wasn't paying attention to the cuticle and I was just worried about the free edge and getting it all the way down to the free edge. And as you see, it's starting to flow into the cuticle. And I'm like, oh my goodness, now it's time. We really got to pay attention and get that out of the cuticle, get that off the skin. So here is time for cleanup. Now, here's how long it's going to take me to clean up all of that. Also, a tip for using builder gel, I like to keep a paper towel underneath my area that I'm working so that I could just take my orange wood stick and just, I have like a wipe spot. It's always on that side because I'm right-handed. Um, or if I'm doing my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand, whatever side is working with the gel, I like to make sure that hand has ample area to wipe off a brush, wipe off an orange wood stick so that I don't have to find a spot. I just wipe it on the table mat. But yeah, it is taking a while, but it is working. I am cleaning it up using an orange wood stick with isopropyl alcohol on it and cleaning up the gel. And as you see, it keeps pulling at the tip, it keeps flooding the cuticle. It just is a lot. I've pretty much lost control of this itself, and I'm having to work rather quickly just to make sure I keep the gel off my skin and make sure that I can hurry up and get it to a position where I can cure it. So, yeah, it's just a little bit more difficult when you apply it a little bit more towards the cuticle line and you use a little bit too much. That's why I like to work in separate beads. Like you see, it's still pulling at the tip, and I really like to have it make a beautiful, like, arch shape. So as I keep playing with it, I'm noticing more is running back in the cuticle, more on my side walls. Just turned into a disaster. So I'm showing you how you can try to come back from that because I didn't want to wipe it off. I just wanted to keep going because I was already almost there. It just takes a lot of patience when you're doing builder gel. And sometimes you'll find yourself in this position. You just got to keep going, which is also why I just do one nail at a time. Always. I never do more than one because it's not worth it. Once you get one where you like it, go ahead and cure it. So with this one, I had a little bit of runoff at the end on the sidewalls, I mean, and then I had a little bit of pooling at the tip. But that's nothing a little bit of filing can't fix. So, have a little bit of run over there, and then I have a little bit in my cuticle, and I have a little bit of runoff on the other side, and then the tip is a little bit bulky with that little bulge. So, we're gonna make sure that we fix that when it comes to the end, when it comes to the filing portion. So, nothing that can't be fixed. Mostly, you want to make sure it stays out of the cuticle line, but yeah, here's what it looks like when you do like a sloppy-ish application. Still can be saved, but watch the next three nails. The next three nails are pretty much perfectly done, and this is how I would do it. So starting here, this is how I do my builder gel. I put my slip layer on, not a lot, push it back into the cuticle, and then the slip layer is pretty simple, but you don't want a lot of gel, and make sure you accurately are placing it, and then it makes the next step just a little bit easier. The more time you take and the more precise you are with your steps, the better and easier it is. All right, had to go inside. A change of sound, I guess maybe, but yeah, it was just I was getting eaten alive by bugs outside, so had to go inside. Mosquitoes were getting me. All right, so here's the next part that I find really important. So you're going to take your bead about normal size, the same size as the last one, but put it up further in the nail and kind of walk it back a little bit. But as you walk it back, you want to drag it down the nail towards the free edge in the same stroke almost, so that you are making sure that the cuticle area is covered, but you're also making sure that you drag towards the free edge. And then you can come back and fill with a little bit more if you want into the apex of the nail and then just, but like, do you see how much cleaner the application is looking already? Like, even with just that little bit of a change on something, it is like making that much of a difference. And then I take my liner brush and I go around the edges, and then I just make sure that the builder gel is everywhere that it needs to be, and that the sides are not bulky, and that the tip is not bulky. And then I just kind of go from there, like one step at a time, checking the sides and all that. But that is pretty much a perfect application, and it is all done, and the light line is straight. Always flip it over for a few seconds at the end, maybe 5 seconds, just to make sure that it pools in the apex area. And then we have like a perfect application pretty much. So in comparison, I have basically no filing to do on that middle finger, but I have the sidewalls and the cuticle to do on the index finger. So that's the difference in application. So I'm going to let you watch two more nails with music that are done the same exact way, and then I will come back. All right, so everything is fully cured and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, before I do any filing or anything, I'm going to throw a top coat on top. I'm going to use the Glossy Shield top coat just because I don't want to wipe the dispersion layer everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the top coat, and then I'm going to come back and it is time for filing with the top coat on. I just feel like it's safer to do that. So I just put a top coat on, and I can just put another one on later. So I'm going to file the sidewall of this nail. I'm going to file the um, thumb really good. And then I like to hit the top of the nail with a buffing block, like a filing buffer, because I like a sponge filer. I think that's what it's called, a sponge file. This is an older one. I start with using this, but then I end up switching. But this is a 100/180 sponge file. I use the 180 side at the end, but I start with the 100 side to just get the shape where I want. And I make sure that I have that bulge that was at the tip filed off, or filed down, not off, but like filed down into the shape that I want. So when it comes to builder gel, if you overdo it like how I did, you can always fix it with filing, but you want to try to get it like I did the other nails, where you don't really have to file at all, or very little, if at all. So some people use a regular file. I just like to use this one, and then I'll go back and buff it so there's not any lines or scratch lines or anything in it. And I just am getting that bulge off. And once I get that bulge off, I go ahead and I do the rest of the nails off camera, because you don't need to see me filing. You file however you file. But that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to buff, file, shape the nails off camera. Now we're back to shaped. Now it looks great. Now it matches. But I'm going to go ahead and do that off screen. And then here we are with all the nails filed, shaped, buffed. They are ready for top coat. I'm going to use the Glossy Shield top coat. It's just been my go-to lately. I love it. I'm going to apply it on all of the nails. First, I have to clean them off with isopropyl alcohol, because I just did get done filing all of them. You can wash your hands if you want, but I just use isopropyl alcohol, clean off all the nail dust, and then go in with the top coat. And your top coat of choice, you can use matte even if you wanted, but go ahead and knock that out. And then at the end, here is what it looks like. I love it. I think it is a great base. It's something simple. You could throw anything on top of it, really. You could throw a red chrome on it. You could just leave it as it is, which is what I'm probably going to do for a few days. But it gives them the strength that they need, and they are so, so gorgeous. I love them. Now, for my other hand, I'm going to be using this construction gel, which is like a jelly one, but I'm going to do that in the next video. So stay tuned for the next video, or a future video. I don't know if it'll be the exact next, but for this one, we used the red builder gel. It's from Bling Galleria, and you can use Erica Nails It for 20% off. I wanted to get a couple of outside pics for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Consider subscribing, give the video a like, and I will catch you on the next one.